listening to me. And what a fun crowd we have. Ladies and gentlemen, hello! Welcome to this August 2024 edition of Poetic License. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's triple plus awesome. I am thrilled to see you guys, and I've just been running like a chicken with her head cut off and doing things for other books, and people know that I run Scars Publications and that I don't just always run magazines, but like John McMullen had a book done, and a gentleman named Neil Burnham asked me to do a thing called Boston Calling, and it was all about being stories about coming from other countries to come to the United States eventually, and how everybody had strange notions of how to deal with people, and then you try to learn things. Like when he came to Boston, he's like, lobster, and everything's tight. And so there's these weird little quirks and things in it. So I appreciated doing this for him, and I hope that he enjoys this book, but I wanted to share that with you. So it's not always just stuff about my own books that's going on here. But I was planning for this first round of Poetic License, what'd I say? Poetic License. That I would read material from the newly released issue of cc&d magazine, based on titles of accepted writings in the book. This one is titled Pandora's Box. And for some reason, I was like, well, what kind of boxes do I have? What about suitcases, maybe? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got this thing from the airport where there were these different colored glowing suitcases glowing around. Why don't I put up something for that? So that's what the cover is for Pandora's Box. So I was going to share with you 3 poems from this, and all of them not only appear in Pandora's Box, but they also appeared in the now released copy of The Universe is in Your Hands from Cyberwit Press. It's finally out, yay. It's a digest size that has cream pages. It's really cool looking, and I got to do some design work on it as well, which I was thrilled with. And it is about things not only about all around the world, but it's about travel and different experiences and what things are like all around the globe. I'll try to get the camera up for my Zoom people. So I thought I'd share with you 3 that are in both of these books, and I am looking, I've got this one queued up right here. This first one, and they're all 4 locations, so I am going to start with one for Hawaii, and it is titled On a Mission for This Reprieve. I must have looked like I was on a mission, wearing a full-body wetsuit in the Bay of Oahu that I still cannot remember the name of. I wore this suit, but the weather was perfect, and I was only snorkeling anyway. Whatever you do, don't swim out past the reef line, they told me as I absent-mindedly nodded in agreement, squirming in my wetsuit to just get in the water. I jumped in like a dolphin. That's actually something that you can see in Oahu year-round. I made my way through the water until I spotted a large, round, perfectly round, disc-like, perfectly psychotically blue. I mean, like glow-in-the-dark blue. I'm talking, it was just the most incredible fish, and I swam with it until I was way past that reef line. Oops. Well, so much for my listening. The Oahu water had a different feel altogether when you only walked over it on the 7th of December 2001, on the 60-year anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The memorial that was constructed over the hull of the USS Arizona, sunken on that day, that will live in infamy. Walk outside on that narrow bridge, and like me, you might see grieving families still dropping flowers onto the water for loved ones still there. Flowers breaking the fluidity of the bubbling oil that still rises from this now underwater tomb. After all this water, you'll need relief in the only U.S. state that has interstate highways that no one can explain the reason for. I mean, like, they're interstate highways to which state exactly? But maybe find peace at a bamboo forest, or even just a Japanese restaurant for dinner, just to enjoy a separate room with seats on the floor for your party, with sliding doors the waitstaff opens while on their knees. You might need this reprieve. So, take a moment and breathe. There's my Hawaii one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I'm going to I'm going to go to, that's on this page, but now I'm going to go on the next page. It says, using bamboo and embracing the West. This is for China. Greeted by my male friend at Shanghai International Airport. He asked me if I had grown. I seemed taller. It wasn't because both of us usually towered over the locals, but because I was now confident and stood tall. Before going to his apartment, where the pull-out couch bed he had was so much more soft than his actual mattress, we picked up a huge bottles of Tsingtao to drink at home from actual, like, a street vendor, and it was like 3 for $1. What a bargain. Seeing buildings adorned with Kentucky Fried Chicken and Starbucks shops with all their emblems everywhere, it seemed China embraced the U.S.'s commercialism, as well as our excess building and manufacturing metals that Americans think cost too much to melt down and reuse. So China builds high-rises from our scraps. But walking out of a Starbucks after seeing some of the sights and needing caffeine from an iced mocha frappuccino with extra black chocolate, and the Chinese didn't have white chocolate, only black, they explained. We passed multiple construction structures at building fronts, made not from metal, but bamboo. I hear that bamboo is really strong, and hey, if they use U.S. steel, why not use bamboo that grows and sways to the wind on the coast of the East China Sea in Shanghai, the way that their coastal buildings appear to sway, too. That was amazing to watch. It was like, oh my God, these buildings are moving, but they have to have them set up so that when you're right on the water, you know. Which was cool. And now I'm going to come back to the States. I'm going to come back to the States for this last one for you guys. And this one is, titled Embracing History, Race, and Creole Soul. As I said, it's not only in Pandora's Box, but also in The Universe is in Your Hands. Da, 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 da. Anyway, here you go. This is my New Orleans one for you guys. Lake Pontchartrain appears towards sunset. It looks like a lake of fire when driving over that never-ending bridge, the causeway claiming the Guinness World Records as the longest bridge for water for decades. Getting closer to New Orleans, you have to pass the desolation. Over the swamps, you overlook decaying trees and occasionally a home surrounded by alligators, snakes, bugs, and the ever-present crawdads. Witness a different kind of decay from what the religious right would refer to as a moral decay of the French Quarter. But that loosey-goosey mindset when jazz sprung forth was an African-American movement. And while segregation was still all the rage in the United States, New Orleans did have mixed-race revelry and Creole jazz, where people were allowed to mix and mingle no matter your race. Maybe that's what that evangelical mindset misses out on, including all people, which is what any NOLA regular will expound, because race is as embraced as gender identity when you walk those beer-stained streets. Some may be tacky and buy beads from a cheap shop or degrade themselves enough to strip to get those beads for free, but don't even bother with the Marie Laveau trinket shop when you can actually just go visit her tomb marked with X's between restoration. That is, unless they've restricted access to her cemetery because teens vandalized tombs near hers. But, you see, that's the thing about NOLA, the history of not only the music, not only the voodoo, but also the history of racial and class segregation that still exists. When Katrina struck, those religious right talking heads said that this was God's wrath over the ability of the French Quarter, even though the French Quarter, comparatively, received only minor damage. For it was the depressed neighborhoods who felt the real brunt of the floodgates opening, as damaged homes serve as testament to the history of New Orleans as once one of the largest slave markets in the United States. But maybe we need to see that in NOLA, understand the brutal history of slavery, and despite that, Creole spirit took blues and bluegrass and created Dixieland jazz that ultimately brought races together. Because, really, sometimes the bottom line is that no matter our race or gender, let's still celebrate together. Gotta have some New Orleans in there too. So I tried to find different locations for you guys. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. We've got people, we've got to be on a rotation here, which is triple plus awesome. As everybody should well know, Mr. Zoom host John F. McMullen will always be the first on our list, and then following him will be Therese and then Susan. I will give the person that's beyond the next person up a heads up as to when they're going to be on the list. So John, the stage will be yours for 3, and then Teresa will be following. So
if you, or 2, Jenna.
What do you guys think?
2, you get more rounds. 3, you get to read more and short. So.
Okay, all right. 2 people have nodded 3 to me, so I'm just gonna say let's do it. Let's do what they say, and we're gonna say 3, and we'll leave it at that. Who knows? I might butt in with a periodic table poem like a pain in the butt, like I did last time. But anyway, John F. McMullen, Zoom host, take it away. I'm gonna mute myself. The stage is yours.